guys, how's it going? It is my different username here, and today we'll be talking about one of the most revolutionary modern day pistols that has garnered so much reputation for its reliability and functionality that it has been adopted by several militaries and police forces around the world. Here we have the Glock pistol made out of Lego. So, the Glock, or otherwise known as the
Glock 17, you know what that is? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. Doesn't show up on your airport x-ray machines here, and it costs more than you make in a month. What?
So, that clip was brought to you by the wonderful people from Die Hard 2 and is extremely factually wrong. But in reality, the Glock is a polymer frame semi-automatic pistol from Austria designed by Gaston Glock back in the year of 1979. It was the design that at the time was actually mocked for being known as the plastic gun and was seen to be too fragile to be used. Once the handgun passed its trials for the Austrian military in 1982, many actually followed through as well, where the pistol was adopted by another 60 countries and has been one of the leading modern day pistols for the military and police of those countries to this very day. And several iterations of the original design have been manufactured over time and has definitely brought the original knife company that Glock used to be into what it is typically now known for today. And the model that I built here on screen is supposed to imitate more of the look of the standard Glock 17 Gen 4 model. And getting this gun to really look like a Glock was kind of challenging, considering the fact that Glocks are relatively small guns, as well as fitting as many features onto this model as possible. And because the fact that the Glock is such a customizable weapon, I actually ended up building a bunch of attachments and a lot of modifications, so please bear with me with this video because there is plenty of content. So, to start off, here we have the pistol grip area, one of the more difficult aspects to replicate on the gun. It features these textured bricks on both sides of the grip, and as well as some finger grooves on the front of the grip just under the trigger guard, which is really only prevalent on most Gen 3 and Gen 4 pistols, where if you remove these, they actually kind of resemble more of what you would find on a Gen 1, 2, and 5 pistol. The grip also contains a thumb rest spot, which genuinely feels nice to hold and allows me to get a proper grip while holding the gun. And the trigger guard area was designed to have more of a squared off look, just like the real Glock itself. But the biggest feature to the grip, however, is the addition of this magazine release mechanism. The first one I have ever made for any of my pistols, and more than likely the last one too. Okay, hear me out on this. It works just like any of my other release mechanisms, but obviously has an exposed spring, which I'm actually not too proud of. And testing this out on my 17 round magazine with the pinhole spots on the back as well as the bullet shown on top shows that it definitely works, and you can see that more clearly when the whole part is actually taken out. The only issue I actually have with it, however, has nothing to do with the release, but instead the magazine itself. So watch as I... See what's going on here? I still basically need to grab the magazine to actually take it out of the grip, which I normally do with my other pistols regardless of the magazine release. But okay, maybe I should give this the benefit of the doubt. I mean, maybe it's just the weight of the mag. So here, let's try some other magazines that I have built as well and see if they'll do a lot better than this little guy right here. First up, we have the 33 round magazine, and just like the last magazine, has pinholes in the back as well so you can see the rounds inside the magazine, and a more robust spring pad on the bottom. It really does look nice, especially when it's loaded into the gun, and let's see if I can go ahead and do a reload. Still doesn't seem to be enough weight. Also, I think I broke it. Okay, let's try out the big boy mag. Here we have the 50 round drum magazine made for the Glock, and I gotta say, it's a pretty simple design all around, you know, just the drum aspect, and it even has a winding gear piece in the back as well as some little details here and there. Also, it is definitely way more heavy than the other two mags even combined, and apparently this magazine is so heavy to the point where I actually can't even get it out of the gun without breaking it. That's how heavy this mag was, so it's definitely not a weight issue at all. If anything, I kind of wanted to point out that this is really why I never made mag releases for my pistols back in the day, because there really is just so much friction in the mag well that none of my mags would ever drop free no matter what kind of design I made for the magazine release. But who knows, maybe there's a lot I could fix with this design and improve on it in the future, but for now, this is what I have for my model. So, with all that said, we can move on to the next part of this pistol, which actually happens to be the front mount. It's a small part of the gun, but holds very important roles, such as encasing the guide rod system, as well as giving the weapon the ability to mount equipment such as lasers and lights, which that is exactly what I made right here. Here we have a custom design for a module device that definitely gives this gun a more tactical look, as well as some functionality because it does work with a real laser. Just pressing down on the side button here activates the laser, and we could see that more once we turn the lights down, and I gotta say, it feels so authentic even when you're on the move with it. Just a cool feeling to have. The only thing that could make this laser even cooler is if it maybe came with a flashlight as well, which I actually do have. And the light isn't the greatest thing in the world, however, because of the fact that it's really not that bright, and I also had to remove the laser to even install the light to begin with because of the specific light I did buy, and sadly I can't even activate it from the side and instead have to turn it on while installing the whole thing. But I can definitely see myself improving on this design later on, and maybe even combining the two parts together so I don't have to constantly take each part out and put another one back in. Besides all that, we can now remove the module from the gun and take a look at another aspect to this, which happens to be the slide and barrel. And this part of the gun was actually one of the easiest to make, because honestly, one of the biggest aspects to making the slide for the Glock is to basically make it as square as possible. But at the same time, I actually did have to make sure I kept certain dimensions in check, because the slide on the Glock is actually pretty small as far as the size goes in real life, but I also wanted to add the use of the regular barrel that I normally use for all of my pistols, and the features of the regular 17 slide include the engraved cuts on both sides of the slide cover plate, the slide lock, and the extractor on the right side. And the sights for the gun are pretty typical as well. But I will admit there were actually a few aspects I really wanted to add to this gun that I don't think I could have done because of a lot of technical issues, that being a blowback system, and also the guide rod actually being powered by a spring instead of the rubber band system you see. But even though I talked about the Glock 17 right here, I'm actually not quite done yet. And I definitely wanted to add another aspect to this Glock video, a Glock that is really famous for a lot of reasons alone. Here we have the Glock 18C. So, the Glock 18C is the selective fire version of the Glock 17 pistol, where it holds the capabilities of operating just like a regular pistol would, while also having the option of fully automatic fire. And this was only really distributed to a few militaries around the world, but I'm pretty sure most people knew about this one from the good old Modern Warfare 2 days. By the way, when I say fully automatic, I really do mean fully automatic. An example might help me explain this. Here's the shooting of the gun in semi-auto. And here's the full auto. Pretty destructive stuff. And considering that I did make 3 different mags for this gun, I figured I'd tell you guys how long these mags would even last with the 1,200 rounds per minute rate of fire from this guy. So, with the 50 rounder, the gun would last just about 2.5 seconds, and with the 33, we got about 1.7 seconds out of that one, and with the 17, we're actually looking at about 1/8 of a second. Like, that's insane. And the visual differences between this model and the 17 are not all that different. Just the one obvious difference is the fire selector on the left side of the gun, where the 1 dot represents semi-auto and the 2 dots represent full auto. Also, we have some cuts in the slide as well as the barrel itself, and this is where the C in 18C really comes from, meaning compensated, where the gun is actually compensated to help the stupid amount of recoil that the gun creates from shooting. Because of this, however, the gun actually cannot be suppressed at all, but at least the regular Glock 17 still can. And here we have the Osprey 9mm suppressor, a more modernized take on the original suppressor design that works really well for pistols by bringing the mass of the can lower than the sights of the handgun, which, as you can see, is pretty effective. Now, this version of the Osprey is definitely a lot more different than the one that I've made actually over a year ago with my PRB 92, but this one right here contains features such as the bottom of this back area and these textured side pieces. Okay, that's about it. But hey, this suppressor does look pretty clean, especially with the laser sight on it. It seriously gives me a lot of Metal Gear Solid vibes. Also, I'm willing to admit that making a suppressor like this was actually a pretty easy task to achieve, so I figured I'd work on making another suppressor that I'm sure not many people really know about at all, and right here we have the Fisher suppressor built for the Glock pistol. And the inspiration that I got to build this suppressor actually came from one of my favorite video games that I play at the moment, which is Escape from Tarkov. And this suppressor is really interesting given the fact that this was made in Austria, specifically made for the Glock, and can be added to the build with no external parts needed. Just slide it through the rail mount up front and it's good to go. I really do wish my model was honestly this easy to imitate, however, especially the sliding over the barrel aspect. Unfortunately though, my model actually really needs the brick built barrel once again because this thing weighs a lot more than my other Osprey suppressor. This even features the small Picatinny rail system on the bottom to allow the ability to add stuff like my laser module right here. And I gotta say, this is definitely without a doubt one of the coolest looking suppressors that I have ever seen / made. Unfortunately, it had to be only for the Glock itself, and unfortunately it also had to be extremely heavy, but still pretty cool. Now that we got all the weight off of this thing, it feels extremely light. And okay, we've covered over the functionalities of the gun, we've covered the different magazines, and even the suppressors, but we're actually still not quite done yet. I wanted to go all out on this build, so I even added some custom slides to go along with everything else. So, after getting rid of this one right here, we can grab this custom built light grade slide here with pretty similar cuts in the back of the slide, but features this really unique design up front. As well, I even added some ghost ring sights because, I don't know, I thought it would look pretty cool on this slide specifically. And it stands out pretty well on its own, so I figured I might as well add something else to it. Maybe something like a custom muzzle device with this slide. And this right here is really meant to have the look of a compensator where it utilizes the gas releases to shoot towards the sides and the top while firing and allows the gun to have significantly less felt recoil for the shooter. And that about does it for this slide here. But I decided I actually wanted to build another slide to go with the rest of the theme. And right here, we have this custom FDE slide. And this slide is pretty unique, just like the last one, but incorporates different aspects like the color of beige Lego bricks, the vented front end with smaller holes, and the biggest part, which is the Trigicon RMR sight on the very top. And let's be honest, it really wouldn't be a red dot sight without the red dot. Okay, this here was kind of difficult, and I'm really surprised I was even able to make this work at all. It uses the Lego brand light up brick piece in red, and I'll admit the setup for this was pretty awkward, but after a while you can definitely get used to how it's supposed to function, especially when operating the slide and the sight as well. The only true downsides to this sight are the fact that some of the details of the slide had to be changed up just to incorporate the light brick, and how there aren't any rear sights on the slide, because in real life you would normally co-witness the dot sight and then use the raised sights in emergency situations. Either way, I gotta say it feels really nice to have what I think may be one of the first pistol red dots ever made, although I'm actually not too sure on that. Either way, it's still pretty awesome. And just like that, we have finally covered everything for this Glock video. It was honestly too much stuff, I'm gonna be honest. But I felt like I had to go really far with this video because most people always wish that I made more mods for my other guns, and also because the Glock is such a customizable weapon, I thought it would have been an understatement to not really just show off how much stuff is really made for this gun. And to also see the comparison from my older model in 2012 to this is just absolutely mind-blowing. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed the build. I hope you guys enjoyed all the attachments and mods, and overall just enjoyed the video. Also, real quick, the link for the LDD file is down in the description below if you guys want to check out this gun and all the mods that I made in this video. So, subscribe if you guys want to see more epic LEGO creations made later in the future. Like, favorite, and comment if you have enjoyed. And, as always, thanks for watching. Psst, I think you're cute.